was wondering if you considered yourself a romantic, and if there was a reason why the show coincided with Valentine's Day.
No. But the title of the show is because I'm going back to LA of the 40s advertising for films, like Everything Is Beyond something. So I didn't set the date.
Your interest in astrology, and I was wondering if that was a way for you to better understand human relationships.
Well, when I'm teaching, I can always tell somebody's astrological sign by their work. So it's not about relationships, but I think my main interest is about astrology is stereotypes and cliches, and it has a lot to do with anthropology,
Right.
which I studied, which I was interested in when I was very young.
Would you advise students to take drugs to explore in their work?
I wouldn't have any suggestions at all. The interest in time, as opposed to static things like Renaissance perspective, comes out of music like Lamont Young, Terry Riley, Steve Reich, and also drugs.
Right.
And I think my work tended to be time-based.
I wanted to know for you, what do you think the relationship between the political and the psychological? And do you think people are aware of this relationship?
I think that my interest in psychology and politics is Jewish subversive humor.
Subversive humor.
Yes.
Jewish.
I particularly like Billy Wilder. So it's kind of irreverence. And of course, the late night comics like David Letterman or Jay Leno poke fun at political situations. I did a show a piece called The Star of David in Austria because they're in denial. I'm Jewish, and they're in denial about the Nazi background. And a very famous Austrian artist, Adolf Reiner, does things with the blood and the cross. So I thought I should do a water pavilion, which was in the shape of the Star of David.
And was that also some sort of Holocaust memorial for you?
No, it wasn't a memorial. It was simply because people in Austria are in denial. So some people thought it was a Masonic symbol, and other people realized, my God, it's a Jewish star.
I see, that is humorous.
Do you think that they were aware of that psychological relationship existed? That they were walking into
younger
a pavilion?
Younger generation were very interested. But the older generation, I guess, still said it wasn't a Jewish star, that it was an old Masonic symbol.
Wow.
It depended on the generation.
Do you think that in pieces like the heart-shaped pavilion that psychology comes through again? I mean, is there a...
Well, it came through because I think museums, lobbies are very important. They're pickup places, and this was originally shown in the lobby of the Carnegie Art Institute for the Carnegie International. And also, I think Pittsburgh is a city which is hard-nosed steel people. It's also Hallmark cards. It's a city where Hallmark cliches are very important.
How do you? I mean, do you like that kind of explicit cliche in your work in general?
Yes, I think my work often deals with cliches.
Do you think you use it as a way of engaging communities, or is it a do you find it as an effective way to engage a community? I mean, is that something that you'd like to do to engage big communities when you show the pavilions?
I think when you do a piece for a very large international exhibition, it's also the popular aspect is pretty important, and also I think it has a lot to do with the use of humor.
Adorno, who lived here in Los Angeles, wrote a book called Stars Down to Earth, and he was really influenced by Los Angeles and how everyone was very much into astrology and how it was really a form of propaganda, and how Hitler's rise to power was through these like beautiful flowery words and this way of propaganda, and he likened that to the way in which astrology columns are written. Is that something that you think about as well?
I think that Adorno is a curmudgeon.
Yeah, he is a curmudgeon.
I think if his friend Walter Benjamin had actually gotten to Los Angeles, gotten out, they would have had violent arguments, but I think Walter Benjamin would have fallen in love with LA culture. Adorno really hated it in a certain way. Marcuse actually related to it in a very interesting way. He was the youngest person who was part of the Frankfurt group. After his wife died, he got very involved with having affairs with his female students, and he got totally involved in kind of youth sexual experimental culture of LA. And I think everybody related to LA in a different way. And I think Adorno really didn't have a good time. He hated jazz. Adorno didn't have a good time here, and I know he died of a heart attack after he went on vacation, after students who were influenced by Marcuse in his class started making love in his classroom.
Do you have any connections with Israel? Are you at all, like, do you wish this show were to travel there?
I actually went. Our last question.
This is it.
I actually went there fairly recently. There's some very idealistic people from Israel on the left, and very idealistic. I went to a Palestinian settlement, which is illegal, and there's an Israeli woman architect, along with her Dutch husband, who's also an architect, setting up a city plan for the city, for the town. And actually, the mayor of the town has a restaurant, and all these on a weekend, Jewish people from Tel Aviv come actually to the restaurant. So it's a little like what happened in New Mexico. In other words, the Palestinians are like the Native Americans, and there's so many contradictions in that country. But what I don't like about Israel is that there's a generation of who were in their early 20s, 10 years ago, are very much involved in MTV hedonism. And the original people in Israel were socialists and very idealistic, but now they're into business and fun culture, and I really don't like that generation. But it's such a but they're all incredibly well educated Israelis. I'm very pro-Palestinian. I actually agree with my hero Jimmy Carter about Palestine apartheid. But on the other hand, Israel is a nightmare set up actually by England. In a way, I think, and I think you can't blame young Israelis for reacting against being victims to being warriors. It's a kind of psychological thing they had no control over. Although I really don't like the government of Israel, but I think it's like what people say about when people didn't like Bush. They're still wonderful Americans, even if we don't like the government. So I don't really trust the government of Israel. I think they're making many mistakes. And are you a horse?
Well, I'm a Virgo horse, actually.
I'm a horse also.
You're a horse?
But I'm an Aries horse.
Oh, an Aries horse. I'm a Virgo horse, which somehow makes me...
Do you have a love of travel?
I do?
I do. That's the horse thing.
That's a horse? Oh, so you're a horse too. Yeah, this is
You and David Aspel had the same birthdays, right?
No, David is one day before.
One day before.
What was, actually.
And Van Gogh, right?
Van Gogh, he has the same birthday as Van Gogh. Also Goya. And Baudelaire.
I didn't realize Baudelaire too.
And you know that Walter Benjamin, who was a Cancer, adored Baudelaire. And I grew up on Walter Benjamin, who was translated by Hannah Arendt in the mid-60s.
Yeah, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous.
Congratulations.
Okay, Dan, thank you so much. Congratulations.